All right, what's up, everybody? Go ahead and make fun of the background. It's totally fine. This is my wife's office because I could not go to the gym this morning and film where I wanted to be. So here I am, secluded up here, and hopefully I don't get a phone call or none of my kids walk in. But I want to go over real quick just this on-field evaluation for concussion protocol with you. If you're starting off on the PowerPoint, I'm going to skip slide 2 real quick. This is basically some of the stuff that I talked about in the concussion PowerPoint that I talked about the other day. The one thing I want you to know from this is if we'll get into this later on down the road, but if there is a C-spine or a cervical spine injury that is present, then that is going to over trump this concussion protocol. So you deal with the C-spine or you deal with CPR if they're unresponsive and things like that. So all that triage stuff you need to figure out on your own. But anyway, if we're going just straight concussion, this is on the field, on sideline, on the court, wherever it is with an athlete. This is what we're going. We're going to slide 3 real quick. Signs and symptoms. I want you to understand with a concussion, obviously, if you get hit in the knee, what hurts your knee? If you get hit in the head, what's going to hurt your head? Okay? They are going to have a headache. Again, I told you concussions can happen, not just getting a blow to the head, but it is also a blow to the spine, anything that has that impulse going up to your brain to make it basically jar in layman's terms. Okay? May or may not have temporary loss of consciousness. It depends. If they do have loss of consciousness, it's not going to be for a long time. Sometimes they get knocked out cold. That's another thing, but usually it's going to be hopefully between 10 and 20 seconds, and then they come back to you, okay? Again, use your triage techniques with that. Confusing or feeling like you're in a fog. Basically, the way how we look at this, if you've ever been drunk before, this is how you're going to feel. You're just going to be really confused, and then that leads into the amnesia. There's 2 different kinds of amnesia. You have retrograde and antegrade amnesia. Retrograde is very rare. It's things that you cannot remember before the actual event or before the hit took place. So, for instance, if you're asking questions to the athlete and they're saying, "What'd you have for breakfast in the morning?" They just cannot remember. That is classified as retrograde amnesia. The more prominent amnesia that we usually see is called antegrade amnesia, and it's basically everything that took place after the hit. It's like they're confused. They don't remember how they got there or where they're at. They're like, I remember everything this morning, school, things like that, but I just don't remember everything the last 15 minutes. That will subside. They still might not remember, but that's okay. It's just something that you need to document down, all right? Dizziness, seeing stars, ringing in the ears, all these things. If you've ever had a concussion, these things will be prominent, all right? The biggest thing that I like to say is, like, with the headache, if you've ever had a true migraine, and this is for those people that always are like walking around, they're like, "Oh, I have a migraine." Guys, a true migraine, by definition, it really means you're on the couch, you're in a dark place, you don't have the TV on, you don't have the phone on, you have no music on, you are literally trying to get rid of that pain in your head. And that pain could be so bad that it's literally causing you nausea and you may vomit. So this is kind of the same pain that we're going to have, or that they're going to see if you've ever had a concussion or dealing with an athlete in concussion. So they're not going to be too happy about it. If you've ever had an athlete before, it's not like you want to answer a lot of questions. You're trying to get as much history as you can out of them, okay? They're definitely, with the pain in their head, you're going to see some slurred speech, and with your brain, because it's one of the most important organs that we have. Whenever it does get injured, whenever let's say you took a shot to the thigh or something like that, what do you want to do? You want to get off of it. Well, your brain wants to rest. So that's where we see fatigue, okay? So all these signs and symptoms, this is usually what we're going to see. There are more, but these are the main signs and symptoms that we're going to see if somebody has a concussion. Now, on slide 4, when it says start your evaluation, the one thing that I want you to know is I went through, or I gave you the slide for cranial nerves. I want you to perform cranial nerves on all concussions. Okay, that is before and after and during your 7-day return to play protocol as well. All right, this is the most important time because the thing that we have to rule out first, yes, we're going to take a good history. We're going to make sure they're okay. We're triaging all symptoms, but we want to make sure that they do not have any kind of subdural hematoma. I will not stress you enough. It's like I hated cranial nerves back in the day, but you got to know them and you got to get good at them. Probably take you rookies between 3 to 5 minutes to do them. That's okay. Make sure you get them done. Make sure the athlete's okay. You're putting them off into a safe place to do them. And then once you get good at them, they can be done within 30 seconds to a minute. So it's like, just make sure that you're getting them done. Then we go on to the SCAT2 basically card. And if you look down below, I think it's on slide 6, That's what I'm talking about when I say SCAT 2. Now, there's other things called SCAT 3 where they've changed a couple things, but this is literally a textbook how to deal with a concussion for dummies. It's going to give you all the signs and symptoms. It's going to give you even questions to ask them. And then it's going to show you how to do our balance error scoring system, which is one of the best tools that we have in our back pocket as far as like, hey, you know, does the balance look good? It's almost like a DUI test, which I'll put a YouTube video up on there as well. When you are with a team, for instance, certain athletic trainers that are with a team for a long time, I've told you the best thing that they do is do best testing before the season so they have a baseline. And that way, when an athlete has a concussion, they can do it again and then compare the video. Again, it's not the telltale test. It's just a tool in the back pocket. Some people still use the impact testing. That's the memory portion. It's a 45-minute, basically, quiz. Super hard if you're not even concussed anyway. But there are other tools out there. There's not one tool that says, hey, this is the 100% concussion thing that we have. These are all tools that you'll use, and then we have to come up with, as athletic trainers, as good healthcare providers, to see who actually, are we going to diagnose this as a concussion or are we not? So we'll get into that in just a second. So I'm back on slide 4. So after you get done with your cranial nerves, after you get done getting history, and when I'm talking about history, I want you to get history from the athlete. They're going to be concussed. You might not get great history, but I want you to get history from other teammates, coaches, any bystanders if you didn't see it happen. Okay, these are all tools to help you basically evaluate what actually happened. Did they actually hit their head and what's going on? Because concussions are very confusing, all right? And especially with the return to play protocol that we have in place now, you want to make sure you're asking a good job. For the questions, I do not want you asking things that you would not know the answer to. Don't ask them, hey, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? How would you know? Were you there having breakfast with them? You don't know that. So it's like, ask them questions that you're going to know the answer to as well. On that SCAT 2, it does give you certain questions that you would know the answer to. But some examples are like, what's today's date? Name the month starting from December and then go back to January. It's almost like a DUI test, but it's like, give them enough time to try to answer the questions. Sometimes they might answer it quick and you're going to look at that quick response. Sometimes it might take them a minute. They're going to get frustrated depending on how bad the head injury is and what their symptoms are like. Just be patient with them and try to get through the entire thing. Do not ask leading questions. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't ever ask them their name. It never works out good. I've literally seen 2 people in my career get hit so hard in the head, and it's like weird because it's like, what if you're covering a tournament and you don't know the name of the athlete? Try to ask coach, try to ask somebody else. Don't ask them their name, because that's the one thing that you cannot take away from me is my name. If you get hit in the head so hard and you forget your name, it's super scary, and I've seen it. It does not work out great. So it's like, try to get that in your brain right now. Don't ask them leading questions like, what did you think, about that game last night, or something? You're going to be there forever. That's just trying to save you from being there for 45 minutes, because somebody with a concussed patient, they're just going to be like, let me tell you something. Back in 2nd grade, so-and-so, I've heard it all. And you'll just be like, oh my goodness gracious. So just get to the point, check their response time, make sure they're answering their questions correctly, and move on, all right? Going down. Again, yeah, I did have cranial nerves on here. I'm on slide 5 now. So check all cranial nerves and the muscles that go with it. I want you to do that before. You can do that after you ask them the questions. That's fine. But I definitely want you to do it before you start the balance error scoring system. Okay? I'm not going to get into that in detail because it's something that we have to go hands-on. I'm going to put another YouTube video up on exactly what that is. So there's 6 different steps, 3 of which are non-weight bearing, or I'm sorry, what am I trying to say? They're on just an even surface, and the other 3 is on an uneven surface. So I want you to make sure that you know or watch that YouTube video and know that, because that's going to be on your final, okay? If we get down to just number 6, that's our SCAT 2. That's what that looks like. A lot of people still pull it out, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's like you're in a big game, depending on where you're at. I mean, people, I've seen old school athletic trainers. I've seen old school physicians just make sure that they're going through the right steps and they're doing the right protocols for this. All right. And then basically slide 7, 8, 9, and 10 is all balance error scoring system, which is best testing. Okay. I have your errors on here on slide 10. That's what we're looking at. Slide 11 is those 6 different stances that you'll do. And that YouTube video will go over it. And then I also have your cranial nerves on here. And then on slide 13, same day return to play protocol. Again, this is very tricky, especially with people under 18. It shouldn't even matter if they're under 18 or not. But the one thing I want you to remember is this comes with experience. There's a lot of people out there, especially a lot of athletic trainers, that will literally get concussion diagnosed happy. And that's okay. I understand the conservativeness of it and stuff like that. But you got to remember, if you're going to diagnose a concussion, you got to remember the 7-day return to play protocol. Tell parents what they're going to expect and everything like that, because I've seen people diagnose a concussion just because they had a headache, and it was like 1 minute after they hit their head. They didn't wait for the symptoms to subside, and they went ahead and diagnosed a concussion, and then all of a sudden state finals happened, and that athlete had to sit their senior year out. Again, that comes with a athlete-by-athlete basis. I do not condone that. Don't ask me or whatever. It just comes with experience and stuff like that. But just make sure that you're getting, and it's okay to ask other questions or other healthcare providers, your colleagues and stuff like that, for their opinion too, okay? So it's very weird, because all this stuff that I'm telling you now, hell, tomorrow it could be completely different, because science is literally changing that fast. I'm not going to get into CTE. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. I'm just getting into what we have right now as far as concussion protocol on how to diagnose it, okay? Same day return to play. This is what I do. I tell my coaches and stuff before season, it's like, look, I want you to send stuff for me. I'm your insurance liability. Let me look at them. If they have a question, I know I can't see all stuff and things like that. I will go through the entire concussion protocol, which is going to take me between 15 and 20 minutes on the sideline or on the court. So don't sit there and try to rush me, okay? I'm going to look thoroughly, because this and heart conditions are the two things that I 100% take very, very, very seriously, okay? So it's like, we go through these protocols. Again, remember, like I told you, you get hit in the knee. What hurts your knee? Does it subside? Depends on what the injury is. Sometimes if it's a bruise or something, you can continue playing. Sometimes athletes hit their head during a game. Is it always a concussion? No. So this is why we go through these things. If I think that they are response time, they're not having any symptoms, all of a sudden after the 15 or 20 minutes, I take them through the entire thing. I'm going to take them through a little agility test to make sure that their balance is still great, try to raise their heart rate up, see if I can recreate any symptoms, and then I'll make the decision there, okay? Again, it's really hard to tell you like this over the, YouTube and stuff like that, coming from a non-classroom standpoint, but it would just have to be one of those things where you shadow somebody for a long time, you see a bunch of concussions, and then you make a case-by-case basis from them, okay? But they had, like I have here on this bullet point, same day, they must be asymptomatic for at least 15 minutes, pass all best testing, basically all memory, all cranial nerves, with no more than 2 errors, okay? And that best testing, if you don't have good balance, and I don't know you, it's like, I hope you have good balance, because there's going to be some athletic trainers out there that will literally call it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's like, I stand behind it. Basically, once a concussion is diagnosed, I go through the entire thing. Like, you come to me after 24 or 48 hours, and we're ready to start our return to play protocol. I'm going to go through every single SCAT2, memory questions, cranial nerves, best testing every single day before I take you out for that protocol of that day. Once that protocol is done, I know it's redundant, then we'll start talking about the return to play on day 6 or day 7. So other than that, guys, I want you to understand, I've already went over that with the concussion protocol of the 7-day return to play protocol here. This is on the last slide. But other than that, I want you to make sure that you have your cranial nerves. I want you to make sure you understand what memory questions you're going to ask the athlete. If you don't know, if you don't want to come up with your own, then you can use the SCAT2 card, and then make sure you understand what best testing is. Other than that, guys, that's literally, I hate to wrap this up in a nutshell, because this could be an entire semester's worth of talking about, and I'd love for you guys to get out in the field someday and see how some of this is happening if you're going to this field. But other than that, you guys shoot me an email. If you need anything, I'm going to post an assignment which has to do with concussions. And if you have any questions, again, email me. Thank you for watching.